Hi everyone, welcome to my page and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I actually can't believe I am saying that. This is something that I have wanted to do for so long, so many years. I said I'm going to do it, but I just never got round to it, so I am seizing the day and we're making it happen. So my name is Finola and I am a professional makeup artist and also a professional singer. I've been doing makeup since 2012 professionally, where I worked on a makeup counter for a few years in London, and since then have been freelance, been a content creator, and I absolutely love it. I'm also a singer, so I trained in musical theatre, so whilst I was in London training in musical theatre, that's when I was working on a makeup counter. So I would train Monday to Friday, full crazy days at my performing arts college, and then Saturday and Sunday I would work on a makeup counter. So at the moment I'm in between contracts, so I sing in the shows on cruise ships. So I travel around the world singing in the shows, singing, dancing. It's amazing. And I love to incorporate my makeup into my performing arts. They're the two main parts of my life and I love that I can bring them together. So I'm very passionate about stage makeup and theatrical makeup, and to be honest, it's a great way for me to try products on stage to see how well they last and how they look, because I think if something looks well under bright lights and can last well under the heat, under the lights, under the sweat, then it most certainly is going to last in everyday life. So my channel is going to be mainly makeup, but I will bring you along when I am performing and travelling around the world. But if there are any makeup videos that you want to see, how to do eyeliner, reviews on products, anything like that, just let me know and I'll be sure to make it happen. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to prep my skin. Now I've done most of my skin prep already, so I'm just going to finish my skin prep. So I'm going in with the Bobbi Brown Face Base Primer. Well, this is more like a moisturiser and a primer. You can use a primer with it if you want, you don't have to, but this is really nice to prep your skin. I am going to actually do a video dedicated to skin prep, just to talk about the rest of my skin prep routine, but I wanted to include this because I do think this product is really vital. It just makes your makeup sit really nicely and really does prep the skin. Okay, next I'm gonna actually prime my skin. This is the MAC Prep and Prime. This is the Natural Radiance Primer, and it's just nice for a base, just to give you a bit of glow. It just allows a lot of radiance to come through the makeup, even though I set my makeup quite matte. Okay, that's skin all prepped, but I'm going to start with my eyes. I like to let my skin products sort of sink in a little bit, and I also like to do eyes first, just because any fallout, cleanup that you want to do sort of under the eyes, you won't disturb any makeup that you've already done there already. So I always start with eyes. This is the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil. Now my eyebrows are tinted already. It's just nice when you haven't got any makeup on, your eyebrows still look fairly nice. So I tint my eyebrows, but I still like to add a little bit of shape with a pencil too. So starting off, I like to brush the hairs in one direction. Now I'm not really one for the fluffy brow effect, however, I don't like them to be straight like that. I do like them to be up a little bit, just because it adds a little bit more volume. And if you have got thin brows, this is a great way to make them look a little bit thicker. Okay, so once I've done that, take the pencil and I just start by drawing a line underneath the brow. And I do that all the way across, just using really small strokes. Now I like to do this at the top as well, but I don't really do it over here because I want to keep this area here quite natural. I say natural, but I don't want there to be a big line at the top there. We want to make that bit look a bit more fluffy. So I kind of start here in the middle of the top of the brow and just creating that shape. Following my natural shape, but just making it a little bit more defined. Once I've done that, I sort of just fill in the middle of the brow really softly, just filling in any sparse areas. And then when I get to the front of the brow, I like to bring strokes upwards in the same direction as the hair. And then using the spoolie on the back, just brushing that up, blending it all together. Okay, so once I'm sort of happy with the shape, I then sometimes, I don't always do this step, but sometimes I like to go in with a brow gel. Now, like I said before, I don't do the fluffy brow, but I do like the hairs to be nice and groomed and to stay in place. This is a clear gel, and I'm just brushing the hairs upwards, just to keep them in place. Okay, so don't worry if your eyebrows don't look as defined as you want them, because I always go back in and carve them out, and that's going to give you just a little bit more defined brow. You don't have to do that if you want to keep them quite natural, but I do like to carve out my eyebrows. So I'm going to use the PLouise Base. This is the original colour, this is in 0.5. This is also a PLouise concealer brush. And I'm just going to start by cleaning up underneath the brow. Now, if you haven't got an eye base, you can use a concealer. I sometimes use a concealer for this. And if you haven't got a concealer, you can use a foundation. Now, I like to use a colour that's extremely bright and very light, because this is going to make your eyeshadow pop a lot more. So it might look a bit scary now, but it all comes together in the end. Just make sure you're checking the shape every now and then, just to double check that you're, you know, not going too crazy, because when you're looking at your eyes in a different angle like this, and then when you look up, everything might look crazy. So it's just good to check in different mirrors that the angles are okay. And then once I've got the shape, I'm just going to pat that eyeshadow base into my eyes. Okay, so for eyeshadow, this is the Too Faced Natural Nudes palette. This is an eyeshadow palette that I go to if I'm doing a smoky eye, if I'm doing a natural eye. This is a really, really nice palette. So as you can see, you've got all your lighter shades and all your deeper shades, and anything else sort of in between. Browns and pinks tend to be the best colours for me. Blue eyes and blonde hair, they just work. I'm going in with the shade Maple, and I'm taking this on a fluffy brush. This is a MAC 224 brush, and I'm just going to be putting this in the crease of my eye. If you look down, you can see where the natural shadow of the eye is, and so I'm just going to be softly buffing that in. It's very important not to be holding your brushes right at the end there, because you're going to be adding too much pressure and it's going to smear the eyeshadow. So I like to hold the brush fairly near the end and just dusting that along. So now I'm going to go back in, do another layer. Okay, so once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go in with the next colour. I'm going in with Warm Rose, and I'm just going to press that into the corner. This brush is a Morphe brush. This is an M514. I've got about 5 of these brushes. They're amazing. Very stipply and perfect for blending eyeshadow, and they're super affordable as well. And I like to just create almost like a triangle shape with the eye, just bringing it along the lash line, I'm just bringing it up to create a sort of triangle shape there. And then just blending that in into your transition colour. Now you can blend it into the transition colour, but you don't want to blend it above the transition colour. Transition colour is always going to be the colour on top. Okay, so once that's on, I'm going to go back in with the first shade, Maple, with a clean brush, just a touch. And I'm just blending the two colours together, really softly, just adding a nice transition there. And you're just going to keep doing that until you're happy with how the colours have blended. I'll always have a spare, fluffy, clean brush with no product on it, just to use at the top, just to blend everything together. This is a Morphe brush as well. This is an M511. I'm now going to go in my deepest colour. I'm not going to use a black, but I do want to go for a bit of a smoke. This is the darkest shade in the palette, and this is called Truffle, and I'm taking that on a smaller brush. This is a Peaches and Cream brush. This is a PC22 brush. Tapping off the excess, and what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to blend with this brush, I'm just going to put the product down on the eye with this brush first. So I'm pressing right into the corner where we put the pink, but we're not going to go as far up, and we're not going to go as far in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brush that I had Warm Rose on, and I'm not going to add any more products to it. I'm just going to use the product that is already on the brush. And very, very softly, I am just barely touching the skin, just buffing the edges of the line out. Really soft motions. And as you can see, that line is starting to blend into the other colours. But it's really important to be very soft, and you don't want to keep dragging the colour around. You want to keep it in that area that we've put it in. Okay, so as we start to blend that out, sometimes you can lose a little bit of the depth of the colour just from where you're blending. So I like to go back in with the colour and just press that back in there. And as you can see, there's a lot of fallout here. This is exactly why I like to do my eyes first, and then I can clean everything up and then concentrate on my base. So again, just blending out the edges. Just taking a makeup wipe, and I'm just wiping away. Now this is a good opportunity to sort of shape the eyeshadow a little bit more. So if you want a little bit more of a sharper edge, where your eyebrow and your eye, the end of your eye meet, you want to use that as a guideline. And just pulling that up like that. And that's just going to add a little bit of sharpness to your eyes. Okay, so now that I've done the smoky part of the eye, I'm now going to concentrate on the inside of the eye, and we're going to use some of the lighter colours in the palette. But this is a little trick of mine. I like to take my eye base or my concealer, that's just a little bit, and I'm now going to start to create a blank canvas over here. Just pressing that in. Now I'm going to be putting this where I'm going to be putting the eyeshadow. I'm not bringing it anywhere near here, and I'm not bringing it above the eyeshadow here. We're just gonna press it in on the eyelid, just brushing off any excess on the brush and just trying to blend out the edges nice and softly, but we can go back in with our eyeshadow and clean that up. And that's just given me a nice base to put my lighter colours on. Try not to pick up too much product because that's when things can start to get a little bit messy and it's harder to blend out if you've got too much on there. Now I'm just going to take one of the brushes that had eyeshadow on already. This is the brush that I originally used for Warm Rose. And I'm just going to blend the eyeshadow into the eye base a little bit. Now I'm taking the shade Petal. I'm going to press that into the eye. But I'm focusing on the centre of the eye because I'm going to add another lighter colour here. So I'm just keeping this in the middle of the eye. I'm not, rubbing it in, I'm not buffing it in, I'm just pressing it nice and lightly onto the eye. And then anything that's left on the brush, I'm just going to diffuse it very slightly into the darker colours around the eye. And now going in with the lightest shade in the palette, this is the shade Swan, pressing into the inside of the eye. I'm going back in with Swan, but I'm just taking a really small brush. This is a Morphe M431, and I'm taking Swan, and I'm just putting that onto the brow bone very softly. I don't want to upset the transition colour underneath, but doing this just adds a bit of matte to the top of the brow and blends all the colours in nicely. Okay, now for eyeliner. So my favourite eyeliner in the entire world is this eyeliner from Inglot. This is a gel liner, so it's in a pot, and this is amazing. It's very waterproof and it's very smudge proof. It is quite hard to get off, but that means that it stays on all day, so I'm happy with that. I'm taking an eyeliner brush from Morphe. This is an M2501. Why are the names so long? I basically used the lid as a little palette, and I just use a little bit in there and just pick up the product when I need. And with eyeliner, it's just about making really small strokes, and I start just very close to the lash line first. I always use this eyeliner for when I'm doing my makeup for stage, and it's just so good. It's so reliable. It does not move. I'm not really trying to shape out any line at the minute. I'm just making sure that I've got product as close to the lash line as possible, and then we can go back in and start shaping. So now that that's down, I'm just making the line a little bit thicker on the outside of the eye. I'm going to keep it very thin on the inside. And the same with the eyebrows, just keep checking in the mirror. I like to do two eyes at the same time, because if you do one eye completely and then try and copy it with the other eye, you're never going to get that symmetry the same. My favourite trick with eyeliner is to put eyeliner on your lash line at the top. It's going to make the eyeliner look seamless, but it's also going to make your eyelashes look longer and darker. So a little trick that I like to do when I'm doing gel eyeliner is I take a liquid eyeliner and just refine any parts of the liner that are just hard to get nice and sharp. And what I like to do is just take this and just clean out any of the edges, because this product's more wet than a gel. And where I've got quite textured eyes, it's quite hard to get a really sharp line. So I just clean up the edges with a liquid. I'm going for a smoked out effect, so I'm going to put that liner on the inside of the eye as well. I'm going back in with the eyeshadow, taking Truffle. Okay, so that's all I'm going to add at the moment because I'm going to finish my concealer and then I'm going to add a little bit more of a transition colour. It looks a little bit weird at the moment, but when everything else is on, it'll all come together. And these are the lashes I'm going to use. These are a half lash and these are from Eyelash Emporium. And I've used these quite a few times already, but you can get a good few uses out of your eyelashes if you remove them properly. So I've just put some glue on them. I just like to let the glue go a bit tacky before I put them on. Okay, I'm going to do the final touches on my eyes at the very end, so I'm going to move on to base now. So I've already prepped my skin, primed my skin, and now I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter in the shade 3. So although I'm going for a matte finish on my skin, this is perfect to give you that glow from within. So even though my skin will look matte, I'll still look radiant. I'm just gonna blend that in with my fingers. There is actually a dupe for this product by ELF. I think it's called Halo Glow, and that's really nice as well. So that is just giving me a nice glow underneath. So foundation, my all-time favourite foundation in the entire world, and I would tell everyone to try it, is Estée Lauder Double Wear. This foundation is so good. I've been using this since I was about 15, 16, and I actually had acne when I was young, so this was the only foundation that covered it. I'm mixing 2 shades together because basically I've got a fake tan on. Naturally, I am a neutral undertone, but with the fake tan, it just adds a yellow undertone as well. So I'm mixing the shades Wheat and Tawny. But yeah, this is another product that I use on stage, and every time I come off from the first show, everyone's always like, why does your makeup still look in place? Like, we're all sweating out there, how does your makeup stay? And I'm like, trust me girls, Estée Lauder Double Wear. And they have a great shade range too. So I'm just using a concealer brush and just dispersing the foundation all over, and then I'm going in with a beauty blender. This is a wet beauty blender, and I'm just going to press that into the skin and just make sure that you're pushing that right into the hairline, because what you don't want is any bits without foundation on. If your face is not naturally the same colour as your neck and you don't press it into the hairline, there's going to be gaps and it's going to look strange. So just make sure that you're pressing that. And then down the neck as well is important, because we are different colours. Our face, our necks, our bodies, our hands, they're not all the same shade. So we just want to make sure that we're blending in as much as we can. Honestly, I'm obsessed with this foundation. The amount of people I've moved on to Double Wear is ridiculous, especially in show business, because it's so good. If this lasts on stage for 2 shows a night, it's going to last on your night out. Now I'm going to go in with contour. I like to contour before I do my concealer. I'm going to use a Fenty Beauty matchstick. This is amazing for, it just blends out so nicely. So I'm going to start by putting this on my cheekbone. I'm not going to put it underneath the cheekbone, I'm just going to put it on the cheekbone. And the reason that I'm doing that is that when I blend it out, I want a bit of room to be able to blend. If you put it straight underneath the cheekbone when you start blending, it's going to get a little bit messy and it's going to bring your face down, and that's not what you want. You want to look lifted. So always put the product on the cheekbone so you've got a bit of room to blend. And then I like to put some around my lips. Just helps to make them look a bit more plump. And then as well, underneath the chin and underneath the jaw. That's gonna add a little bit of shadow and make the jaw look a bit more snatched. but don't forget to blend this out. The amount of times I've nearly forgot to blend this out and like nearly turned up to events like, hey, what's up? Oh my god, could you imagine? Before I blend that out, I'm just going to use setting spray. It's got hyaluronic acid in it. So I'm just going to spray that over before I blend it out. And it's just going to make the product easier to blend. To be honest, that product is very easy to blend, but when you've got like a setting mist on your face, it just adds a bit of moisture and everything just blends together really nicely. So I'm using a MAC brush. It's a stipply brush and it is 188S brush. I've had this for years, it's so good. So the trick with this is to press the product into the skin. Don't drag it up, don't drag it down, just press it into the skin. Now it's time for concealer. Now, if I'm doing my full glam, I use 2 different concealers. One to sort of highlight, add a bit of definition, and then I go back in with another one later on just to really brighten up my under eyes. But the first one that I'm using is Nars. This is the shade Custard, and it's a few shades lighter than my foundation. Now, this is what you want to cover and brighten. I'm just shaping down the nose a little bit just to give me a little bit of a snatch there. And I like to add a little bit at the end here too. Taking the same beauty blender that I blended out my foundation with, just pressing that in. Okay, once that's all blended in, I just take any of the excess product that is on the beauty blender and I just press it right underneath where we've contoured, just to give a little bit more of a snatch. Now I'm taking a cream blush in the Made by Mitchell Blur, and this is in the shade Can't Cope with Coral. These look really bright, but they're actually really nice and natural once they're blended out. They Made by Mitchell brush as well. This is MF4. Again, I'm just pressing that right into the skin, bringing it down slightly, but I don't want to come into this area too much because I want that lifted effect. And then I go back in with another concealer, but this concealer is a lot lighter than the concealer that I just used. This is the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, and I have been obsessed with this concealer forever. So I take a dot and a dot here. This is just going to give you a really nice bright under eye. Going in with my favourite translucent powder of all time. I've tried a lot and this is the best one. It's the Huda Beauty Baking Powder. This is incredible, and again, for all my shows I use this and everyone says to me, how are you not sweating, or how do you look like you're not sweating? And I'm telling you now, it's this. It is this. So this is the shade Cherry Blossom Cake. Press that under the eye, pressing it in. And then with the excess on the powder puff, I'm just gonna use that all over the face. Now I'm going to set my contour. I'm going to use the Benefit Hoola Bronzer. I use different techniques for this. I like to press it in, and then a little bit of swirling at the top. By the way, I do have a Look Fantastic discount code, which can save you some money on quite a lot of these products actually. So I will link everything below, and I'll put the discount code down there as well, because every little helps when you're doing a bit of makeup shopping. For powder blush, I'm using the MAC blush in Peaches. This is nearly gone. As you can see, it's very well loved. I'm just taking a Peaches and Cream in PC25 and just patting that over the cream blusher. Okay, so this is the final step to my base routine, and I've only just recently started using this product and I'm obsessed. So it's the Ambient Lighting Powder from Hourglass. This is the shade Dim Light. This is a finishing powder. It's not a setting powder or anything like that. It just adds a little bit of glow to the skin and just finishes everything off. I will do a more in-depth video on these because they're amazing. There's something in the powder, like there's a technology or something to do with the powder, and what it does, it just makes your skin reflect a certain way under the light. Now I need to finish underneath my eyes, so what I'm going to do is I'm taking some of the first shade that we used, Maple, and I'm just going to blend out that brown. And finally onto lips. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the product buildup on my lips, and then I am going to put product back on the lips, but only a small amount. I'm going to take a beauty blender that has got just excess product on it already. I'm just going to press that lightly over my lips so then they're not covered in foundation, but we've just got a nice blank canvas to work with. So my go-to lip liner of all time is MAC Soar. I like to start at the top and then just start to lift it. I'm going to overline ever so slightly, and then when I bring it down to the corners of the lip, I then end the overlining. Just line my natural lip shape. So the only part of the lip that's overlined is the top, and I'm going to do the same at the bottom. You know when you just find a colour that you love, like this just goes with anything on me. Now just bringing that into the lip a little bit more. And then just blend that out. Sticking with the matte theme, I'm taking a Kylie Cosmetics liquid lip in the shade Cocoa K. And then just to sharpen it up a little bit, I'll go back in with lip liner. Such a nice lip combo. I'll just set my face using a bit of Urban Decay All-Nighter, just to lock everything in place, make sure it stays. And that is literally it. So I hope you enjoyed my first ever YouTube video. If you have got any questions, please just drop them below. Any video requests, drop them below as well, because I am coming up with all kinds of content now. So if there's anything that you want to see, any makeup reviews, makeup applications, eyeliner tips, anything like that, let me know and I'll be sure to make it happen. Thank you so much for watching. Please, 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 if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel because I've just started out. I haven't got any subscribers. See you next time.